Hi people, welcome to the Run Testers and to our first run in a debut shoe from a brand new running brand. We are looking at the SUDU SRM01, a daily trainer that the makers say is designed for fast-paced performance at any distance. At £125, it's at the cheaper end for a daily trainer, but does this newcomer have what it takes to do battle with the best in this hotly contested area? Well, I've taken them for some early miles, and here's my initial thoughts. First, some quick details then, and the SUDU SRM01 stack height comes in at 27mm in the heel, 19mm in the forefoot for an 8mm drop. It weighs in at 262 grams or 9.25 ounces in our men's UK 8.5 test shoe. On price, £125 in the UK. It's not currently available in the US though. Now let's have a really quick whip round of the shoe, starting with the midsole here, which features what SUDU calls its Spring Foam Plus midsole. It's a high rebound engineered TPE supercritical foam with a comparatively low stack, a little more traditional in terms of its geometry, akin to something like the Brooks Glycerin 21, I would say. Now the midsole geometry is also quite flat. There's not much by way of a rocker here. Up top, you've got Speed Weave Plus engineered knit uppers that are quite thick but have a pretty good amount of flex. It's airy enough. There are medium padded heel collars here and some flat wrapping tongues that have these elasticated straps that hold the tongues nicely in place. Flip them over and there's a really generous covering of outsole rubber here with a few different grip patterns that looks like it will be nicely protective and durable. So for this first impressions video, I've actually done 3 runs in the SUDU SRM01. All of them at a very easy pace and basically an hour long each time. Around 12 miles in total so far in the shoe. And it's fair to say that debut shoes often miss the mark. They can be too firm, too blocky. They're not always that refined when it comes to the uppers and the construction. That is not the case here. This is generally a well put together shoe. But at the same time as being generally competent, it hasn't really blown me away either. It feels safe, really, slightly unremarkable, but kind of consistent. That supercritical midsole is at the firmer, responsive end rather than the cushioned and springy. It's not the liveliest shoe I've run in terms of daily trainers. It's also not entirely dull and dead. It's kind of sort of middling, basically. It's definitely more Brooks Glycerin than something like an Asics Nova Blast. If you like your shoes pillowy soft, this probably won't be for you. And on those early miles, I found they run a bit long as well. And that means the ride here from the sort of forefoot can feel a bit slappy, like the length leaves the forefoot under the toes a little disconnected from the rest of the shoe, at least for my feet. Now the shoe could use, I think, a bit more rockering to add some snap to the transitions and pep up that ride a bit. That might kick this shoe closer to a sort of Max 6 kind of vibe. But on those early miles, it was just a little bit flat for me. The stability though was really good. There's a nice reliability to the landings and a solid platform to run off in the shoe. So this might be a good shoe for doing things like stepping off the treadmill into some more dynamic kind of gym floor drills and training. So initial verdict then, based on my early miles, I'd say for a debut shoe, this isn't half bad. It reminds me a little of a lower stack, tamer Nike Vomero 17, maybe somewhere in the ballpark of a Supernova Rise from Adidas, that kind of area, though probably not as lively as those two shoes. It's certainly not hugely energetic compared to some of the other top daily trainers that we've got out there at the moment, but it's not devoid of energy either. Comfort is generally solid, even if the shoe feels a little bit long for me in the toes. Now, I don't mind running in firmer shoes, but if you're a paid up member of the big stack, kind of bouncy cushion brigade, the lower stack here and that slightly firmer tuned foam, slightly more responsive ride might not be for you. I'm going to reserve my judgment on these until after I've tested them on some faster pace efforts to get a sense of the top end potential as well and that overall versatility. But my feeling, having done those early miles, is that they're not going to compete with the liveliest daily trainers that we've got out there. And even at £125, I think they might struggle to rival shoes like the £135 Saucony Ride 17 or the £130 Supernova Rise from Adidas and that ever faithful Puma Velocity Nitro 3. But more testing is needed before we make that final proclamation. So then, when it comes to fit, as you can see, there's a good amount of room at the end of the toes, if a little bit too much. There's a bit of bend there. There's more than a thumb's width, I would say. And because of the flex of the uppers and the way this midsole bends, that's the bit that can feel like it's a little bit too long.
Overall, you've got nice flexible uppers, so there's a good sort of holding here and into the toe knuckles, but there's plenty of flex, so they don't feel cramped across that midsection there, although you do get good lockdown hold. As you come back up, I managed to get a good lacing hold across the top of the midfoot here. You've got pretty flat lay tongues, but this is slightly reinforced, so I don't get too much or any, in fact, lace pinch from lacing down. And then you're moving up into the heel collars, and you've got that kind of medium padding. There's a good amount of flex here, but they hold relatively firm. The backs come up quite high, but I didn't have any digging in because it's quite kind of bendy and flexy there as well. So overall, I think apart from that extra in the lengthwise, I think the rest of the fit is good. And my instinct is to say go true to size, unless you want to try shortening those, but I would leave them as they are, because I think everything else might become a bit cramped.
So that's been our first run look at the new debut shoe from brand new running brand SUDU. We hope you found it useful. Don't forget to hit like if you did. Maybe share it with some other runners that you know who might find this informative. And of course, hit subscribe if you've not already. If you're looking for a killer daily trainer, this video I'm going to pop up on the channel now is for you. Get stuck into that. Otherwise, as ever, thanks very much for stopping by. We hope to see you again soon on the Run Testers. Happy running, people.